Wednesdays at the Well. I am Kavalyn Day. I am the Director of Operations and Corporate Wellness here at the Well Counseling Group, and I am joined by the fabulous and wonderful Dayshell Dicus, who is one of our clinicians. And we are excited to be doing this series this month. So we want to welcome everybody and thank you for taking a little time out to be with us. This is going to be very casual, conversational, and just we want to kind of destigmatize and bring a little bit more awareness to real life practical ways to impact and influence and improve your mental health. So we're starting at the very beginning today by talking about what is mental health and how can I get me some, right? So we're going to do a little bit of a disclaimer for those of you who are watching us live. The Well Counseling Group is the premier provider of mental health treatment in the Indianapolis, Indiana area. Specifically, we work with a lot of people of color. We work with all people, but we have specialized in working with people of color. We also provide corporate consulting, wellness, and we are very happy to provide individual counseling and consulting. However, for today, we are not your therapist or your coach. We are providing information. So we want to make sure that if you have specific needs, that you reach out to us at our office directly. Reach out about getting your own session or having your own treatment in our office, because we are here for that. But today we're talking about information and conversation. So be advised that this is being live streamed and it is being recorded. So I want you to be clear that anything you want to share. Now, if you have the fortune of being in our Zoom room, please feel free to send me a direct message if you want something to be a little bit more anonymous, and I'm happy to share it without any identifying information. It might be a question that other people have. That is perfectly fine. If you want to share a comment on the Facebook Live, obviously that's available to the public. We'll do our best to answer those as well. So the topic today is, what is mental health and how can I get me some? Okay. And so I use this definition a lot when I'm doing my work with our corporate partners, because when mental health is one of those phrases that's been thrown around a lot lately. So it's just like everybody's talking about mental health, but people don't often define it. So I want to define it for you today. And this is according to the World Health Organization, you know, the people that we listened to all during the pandemic, right? According to the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes their own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to their community. So it's not just about mental illness or not having mental illness. It's really about your overall well-being and how you can have a successful and productive life, right? And some of the statistics that we think of when it comes to mental health, one of the reasons why we're doing this series this month, is that 1 in 5 adults will experience mental health challenges or some type of a mental illness over the course of the year. We have about 6 or 8 people in our Zoom room right now. So that means one of us probably has some needs, right? We've got other people live streaming. 1 in 20 adults will experience in the US a significant mental health crisis in the course of a year. If you have children or you're a teacher, a lot of times I'm working with teachers, 1 in 6 children ages 6 to 17 will experience some type of a mental health diagnosis over the course of the year. 50% of mental illness is diagnosed before age 14. Like before age 14, we can already start to see some of those signs and symptoms. About 75% will show up before age 24. And then the statistic that we always want to make sure that we touch on, especially for parents who are concerned about their kids, is that suicide is the second leading cause of death for people 10 to 14. So there's some pretty significant concerns about what happens when we don't have our mental health in order. So this topic today is all about how can we make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, right? And so I'm going to bring Dayshell in because we're going to talk about some of the questions that we get asked, some questions that people have about mental health. And so Dayshell, let's start with, how does a person even know I'm mentally healthy? Like, how can I begin to say like, oh, am I, like somebody saying like, am I vegan? How would they know that?
I think it really starts at having self-awareness, just being able to identify how you feel about things and how things make you feel. The three big components of mental health is emotions, thinking, and behavior. So
Mm.
when something happens, how does it make you feel? How do you respond to being sad or being angry? When you're sad, do you shut down? Um, when you're upset, do you lash out? And when you're feeling those or do you have those thoughts when something happens, say you lost your job, or um it could be as small as somebody cut you off in traffic. How do you respond to those things? Because if you're lashing out at something so small as someone cutting you off, it's a sign that maybe there's some more going on. There's something deeper going on that maybe you haven't been processing those emotions. So that's the big sign of knowing if you're mentally healthy, just knowing how you respond to things when they happen and how they make you feel.
That is such a good point, because I think the way that, like, having that emotions, those heightened emotions that are just beneath the surface is a good indicator that there's more going on, right? That there's something else that maybe hasn't been addressed or hasn't been dealt with. For me, I know one of my red flags of like, hey, I need to do a little bit better job taking care of myself is people just get on my nerves. So if people get on your nerves all the time, if everybody and everything is getting on your nerves, it may not be everybody and everything. It might be something going on with you. So I think that's a really good indicator. Like, and I like what you said, looking at your emotions and your behavior. So what's going on? Sometimes people like, am I eating more? Am I eating less? What am I doing that I might not want to be doing, or that might not be benefiting me? So that's one of those things. So as far as like, what should I do if I think I may have a mental health condition, or if I think I might have a mental health problem? I think the most common and the most obvious one is call a therapist, right? That's the most common or the obvious one. And obviously we're a counseling practice and a coaching practice and a consulting practice. So we love for you to call us if there's a problem. But I think sometimes I even want you to start a little bit sooner than that. I want you to acknowledge for yourself, like just acknowledging for yourself, like I'm struggling right now, right? Sometimes you can begin to make some changes internally within your own circle, right? So you might say like, I think I'm struggling right now. I'm going to look at my calendar and I'm going to, remove myself from some things I may be committed to, or I'm going to give myself a little bit more care or a little bit more compassion. You might want to start there, just doing those type of things. Obviously, working with a professional is definitely something that can help you. But a lot of times I always tell clients to go back to basics, right? Our basic needs have to be met. And sometimes when things are getting out of whack with our mental health, we don't have those basics. So maybe you haven't been eating well, you haven't been sleeping well, you haven't been moving your body, you haven't been drinking that water. So kind of going back to some of those basics will begin to kind of put things in a little bit more alignment. And then you can say like, do I need some further help? Do I need to talk to a professional? Do I need to talk to my medical doctor? Maybe there's other things, because sometimes physical health challenges can show up in your mental health and vice versa too. So anything else you could think about, Daisha, about maybe like, what should you do if you think there's a problem with your mental health? Like you're checking in with yourself and you're saying, I'm not okay.
I would like what you said about going back to the basics. That's really important, because even say you are mentally healthy, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not moving your body, not getting water, the stresses of life are going to stress you more because you haven't gotten any sleep. So that's the base at the basic level. But I also like to say, if you're feeling stressed or sad, going out your way to create a different emotion. So look at your calendar, and when you take those things off your schedule, fill it up with something that makes you happy. Maybe it could be as simple as I'm watching my favorite, your childhood favorite show that just reminds you of childhood, makes you laugh, makes you happy, make you smile. Maybe spending time with someone who makes you feel good, or even journaling to kind of sit with yourself, like, what is going on with me? I feel off. What's wrong? Like, let me just really think about what could be going on. What's happening that's maybe triggering something within you. But I think those are like some really basic things you can do by yourself. And then of course, seek out a professional, because
Absolutely.
getting a therapist takes time. It's a process. So it's good to start off with those core things that you can do on your own while you're waiting to get assigned a therapist.
Oh, that's such a good point, because I think right now, and we have the benefit of having a larger staff, so we don't always have to have a significant wait in our office. But sometimes your schedule doesn't allow you to get in with a therapist, and so I don't want people to ever feel like I can't feel better until I get to the office, right? Like sometimes there are things that you can do for yourself. We have different things on our website, our blogs, and our different courses and things as well. We want you to be able to feel empowered to make the choices you need to make for your own mental health and well-being. So we don't want you to feel like you can only feel better at our office. That is not the goal at all. So I think that's a really good point. Now, somebody asked me this question earlier today. So I said, Deshelle, we have got to talk about this today because, when you're in the mental health space, I think this is so common for us. We don't think about it, but this I thought was just like a great question. So what actually happens in a counseling session? If I say, okay, I know that there's a problem, I called and got a therapist, what can I expect to happen when I walk in for that first appointment or when I log in for my virtual appointment?
So for the first session, you would come back or log on, and it's really just about getting to know you, getting to know what's been going on. At the basics, just maybe you lost a job, maybe gaining some more information and insight into that. But the first couple of sessions, really just getting to know you so we can understand like what impacts you, how do things impact you, how do you respond to those things? So maybe getting to know things about your family, yourself, of course, friends, significant relationships that you have, and just past events that you've experienced, but just getting to know you. And I always like to let my clients know that this is a working relationship. This is not just you come, I'm a therapist, I'm going to fix you, I'm going to make you better. It doesn't work like that, because honestly, even with clients that you see more than once a week, that's just 1 hour out of all the days you have with yourself. So the work really comes from you and making sure that you're doing your part. So we can talk about things. I can send you with homework and things you can work on, but if the work stops inside the session, it won't continue. There won't be a lot of progress. So just knowing that it's going to take work, it's going to take effort. So a lot of talking. Maybe if you're not someone who likes to talk as much, there might be some activities that we could do together. It's really based on the person, but it's just really important that you're honest and you're putting forth some effort so that progress can be made.
Oh, so now you have led right into our next question, because the question was, can mental health be fixed? And I use the kind of air quotes on that.
Yeah,
but
fixed.
I think you bring up a really good point, because when we're thinking about, we often say here at the Well, mental health is hygienic, right? So the same way you get up every day, hopefully, brush your teeth and wash your face, you have to have practices that maintain your mental health. And so when you said this is a process, this is work that you need to do, some days are lighter and you're like, hey, this was a great fun session. Some days are a little bit heavier and you're doing some more intense work, but it is something that happens on an ongoing basis. So if somebody were to say to you, like, can you just fix me? What would you say? Like, is this going to be fixed? Am I going to have to always deal with this? What do you say when clients have that question?
Well, I like that you put the quotes on fixed, because I don't want anybody to think that they're broken. You're not broken. There are things that can definitely feel wrong and uncomfortable, as an understatement. There are things that are very pain and emotions that are very immense, very big, but you're not broken. I want to say that. But yes, mental health has been studied for decades, maybe even a century at this point, because I'm thinking even the 1800s they were studying mental health. So we know how the brain works. Of course, we're still studying it, but we know how things impact people at the basic level. There's medications, there's lots of studies that have been done. So whatever you're dealing with, there are methods to help you learn how to cope with it. When you're in it, it does feel like I don't know how to get out of it, especially if you've not talked to anybody. So it can be very isolating. So you feel alone, like I'm the only one. So once you go to a health professional, they have the skills. They've gone to school to learn how to help you. There are studies out there to help us with the things that you're going through so that we can teach you the skills and you apply them. And it just makes life easier to cope with, because life is going to continue to life, because that's what life does. Like there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but what we need is the ability to cope with the things that happen to us. And that's what therapy is. It gives you those tools and helps you work through and process the things that have happened so that you learn how to continue to cope and process with the things that will continue to happen.
Awesome. So I think I might quote you, Deshelle. Did you say life is gonna lie?
Yes, it is.
Life is gonna lie, right? So And you also said you're not broken. I like both of those points because I think sometimes we have this perception that, and I think it's one of the things that, and I'm going to speak specifically about men too, because I think we have this for men. They don't want to admit or say there's something wrong with me. You're not necessarily coming to a counseling office or to a coaching session because there's something wrong with you. Maybe you're coming because you want something to be amazing with you, right? Or you want something to be better than just okay. So you're not broken. It is very natural for people to have these experiences where, as life is lifing, you have to figure out how to bounce back. Sometimes, you know, you're going along and things have been pretty good, but then you realize like, man, my coping skills that I've been using or the way I used to adjust just isn't hitting like it used to hit anymore. And you just have to add to that toolbox. So I think that's a really good point. And it's not a process of being broken or being fixed. It's just the same way you put gas in your car every week, you know that that's a natural part of the process. If you need to get them brakes done or those tires rotated, it's just a natural part of the process. In order to get through life, to get to where you want to go, you've got to maintain your vehicle to get you there. And so when it comes to your mental health, it's the same process. Sometimes you're going to be needing to work with a provider. Sometimes you're not. We have people who come to our office on a weekly basis. We have people that come to our office on a monthly basis. We have people who come in on a periodic basis, just kind of as needed to kind of check in. So I think that's a really important point to make as well. So, and sometimes we say like, does everybody need therapy? Does everybody need a therapist? I personally believe everybody needs someone outside of friends and family that they can check in with periodically to maintain their mental health. Now, does that mean everybody needs ongoing therapy? Not necessarily, right? But I think everybody needs to have a person that they're connected with, that they can check in with periodically, whether, you know, think about it the way you go to the eye doctor or the dentist. It's something that you're going to check in on periodically. Sometimes if you have a person that you have developed a relationship with over time, they'll be able to identify things that you maybe are missing. Like you say, like, I don't know what's going on. I just been getting a little bit more frustrated. And they're like, last year, this happened around the same time. I wonder what's going on. And so they can kind of develop that relationship with you. So that's a really good thing to have. And especially if you can establish that before a crisis, that's great too. So the other question, let me see here. I think we've got a question from in our group. Oh, this is a good question. So as mental health professionals, do you guys have therapists of your own? Assuming you already know the methods, what are some topics, if you don't mind sharing, that you need help with? I do not mind sharing. So I will be happy to share with that. We usually say, now I provide coaching at the Well, but I generally say every coach needs a coach, every therapist needs a therapist. Sometimes a coach needs a therapist, sometimes a therapist needs a coach. So you need to have people in your circle who are your safe space. It doesn't matter that you're a helper, right? A doctor can't treat themselves, right? We expect them to have a doctor. So I generally say you should have somebody on your Rolodex that you're connected with. Doesn't mean that you're having, again, therapy every week with the person. Sometimes you'll go through those periods of your life where you are, but I think you need to have that person that you're checking in with periodically, because sometimes you just need that person that can say, like, let's hold the mirror up for you. You're doing a good job holding the mirror up for everybody else. Let's hold it up for you so that you can continue to grow and develop. So the topics I would say I generally check in with, I would say a lot of family dynamic things is a very common thing when you're in a helping profession. You get into this role of being a constant caregiver. And so you've got to have somebody that helps kind of check you and keep you in alignment with your ultimate goals. Otherwise, you just be giving, and you won't ever have a time. So helping to set those healthy boundaries, helping to make sure that I'm checking my own thought patterns, because I don't want to get into the habit of ever being such a giver that I'm not taking care of my own needs. So I think those are the kind of things that I typically am checking in. And I work with the coach as well in terms of just setting goals for myself and holding myself accountable to do the things that I need to do to get to those goals, because sometimes life gonna life and you get off track. And so you know, having that check-in point with that person that's like, you said this is the goal that you wanted to hit. So what's up? Why are we not doing this, right? Having that person that's there can be really beneficial. Anything you want to add to that, Dayshell?
I agree. I like the comparison that you made about just having a therapist, it doesn't have to be somebody that like it's ongoing. Like I see them every week. You can check in just like you would for glasses, the eye doctor or the dentist. So I do have someone that I see quarterly just to check in, just see am I okay? And then it's again about, like you said, because I'm a giver as well. So just checking my boundaries, my goals, making sure that I'm okay and I'm not just pressing through. Because when you're stressed or just dealing with life, you just get used to just going. But just checking in, really sitting myself down, holding myself accountable. Like, am I okay? Doing those general check-ins for, am I happy? Am I sad? Am I processing things that have happened? Just general stuff like that.
That's a good point because, and I think this, I'm a mom as well. So like when you're a caregiver, so if you're a caregiver in your day job and a caregiver at home and a caregiver in your, like maybe you got parents that you're caring for, when you carry that role so often, you never get an opportunity to just really take it all off and set it down. And so having a professional who can say like, nope, in here, you're not the therapist. In here, you're just a person. And that's a really good thing. So I think that's always beneficial. So we definitely recommend that any of our providers access those resources for themselves. And there'll be periods of time where you need it more and you'll need it more frequently, and other times, not so much. So our last question, unless anybody else has any questions for today, is what can I do if I can't afford to work on my mental health? And I think this is one of the things that we sometimes get, especially at the top of the year when the deductibles reset. Everybody's like, can I afford this? And I think this is a really, really good point that we wanted to touch on here at the Well, because we have partnered with some great organizations to try to help and make mental health accessible to as many people as possible. Obviously, we have these type of events, right? So we have had, live events, and if you're on our list, if you come through our office and register on our website, you'll be on our newsletter list. You'll hear about different workshops and events that we host internally. Sometimes we do things on live like this, which is open to the public. So that's something that you can access generally for free, or sometimes our courses are like, $10, $20. So we make those super duper affordable so that you can get information and a little bit of application. In terms of working with someone one-on-one, most people do have access to mental health coverage under their medical insurance. You may not realize that, but you generally do have that. Sometimes it's subject to the same deductible as your other treatments. Sometimes it's not. I have seen policies where there's zero copay and zero deductible for mental health, and people had no idea. So check that. And if you're at the end of the year or starting a new job, check that before you sign up. If that's something you want to look at, because sometimes the coverage looks average or looks the same, but you want to go into those kind of specifics because different companies cover that differently. But there are a lot of ways to make it more affordable. So when we have groups that we offer through our office, one of the things that does is it basically splits the cost of the session amongst multiple peoples. So let's say that there's maybe 6 or 8 people in a group. You're not going to all pay for that 1 hour. You're going to pay a portion of that hour. So that can really make it more affordable for you that way. We have partnerships with local churches that offer partial scholarships, and we're always open to other churches. So if you know of a church that is interested in supporting the community in that way, definitely send them our direction, because we are more than happy to do that. We partner with corporations, and so we are taking over employee health and wellness. So we will bring in counselors. We've even got places where we have counselors on site at job sites. So ask your churches, your employer, what they are willing to do to support mental health, and then reach out to us, because we can definitely partner. And then there's other organizations like Open Path and the Loveland Foundation that we've partnered with, which cover a portion of your session or offer discounted rates as well. So all of those are options to make it more affordable for you to be seen in our office, whether you're being seen as an individual or in a group. And I think those are ways that you can make it a little bit more affordable, but don't underestimate the benefit of utilizing the resources that, like that are available on the website, because a lot of times if you apply those, you can get some benefits there as well. As we get ready to wrap up, Daysha, do you have any final thoughts you want to share? We have some good little nuggets today.
I would just say I'm trying to wrap it up. I just think it's important. Your mental health is very important. So And I know there's a big thing about the stigma on mental health is really asking for help and also letting people in your business. But and I did a blog about that. That will be posted on our site. I'm not sure if it's on there just yet, just about mental health and the stigma that we have on mental health, especially specifically in the Black community. But just thinking about mental health and asking for help at its core, think about when your car is messed up. Say you're not a mechanic. Are you going to get under the hood and give yourself a new transmission? I don't know anything about cars, but this is the best example I can think of. You're not going to do that because you don't know how to do it. You're going to have to go to a professional who can help you with that. So seek out the help that you need. There's no need for you to suffer alone or suffering at all. Like when you can seek out the resources that are going to help you. Like you said, Open Path, and there are a lot of scholarships out there that will help you to make it more affordable. And if you have to start off with what we talked about earlier, just sitting with yourself and really doing a check-in of like, do I feel mentally healthy? Do I feel okay? How am I doing? Even doing that is a good start, but do something. Don't just get content with being okay or all right for today. That's not how life should be. Like, you should live life to the fullest. I want that for everybody, and I want us to seek that out for ourselves.
Oh my goodness, such good points, such good points. Yeah, and I think that point of, a lot of times people are using busyness as a way to not deal with the things that they feel. So that point of giving yourself some time to reflect, that's definitely important. But you talked about not wanting people in your business. And I think that is some of the hesitation sometimes people have to working in a group or coming on a workshop, or something like that. You would be amazed that being with someone who has a similar challenge to you, how that can benefit you, right? And it's not about people getting in your business or any, you having to be too vulnerable. When you're with other people who are in a similar stage of life with you, like, sometimes we'll offer groups on stress management or divorce and co-parenting, those kind of things. When you are around people who are having the same challenge with you, you feel so much relief just from not feeling isolated. And you don't have to be afraid of people being in your business. When you're having a one-on-one session, it's completely confidential. Nobody's telling anybody anything, right? So that stays between you and your provider. When you are in a group setting, people have all agreed to be in that group. And so when they agree to being in that group, they're also agreeing to hold space for you. And so you actually can kind of build your community by doing that when a lot of times people feel isolated. So I think those are some really, really good points. So we are so excited. Yes, Dr. Yamin Chestnut is still one of the therapists in our group. He's one of our, I don't want to call him old school, but I guess I can. He's one of our old school therapists because he's been here a long time. So he is still with us and still doing an amazing job providing services here. So we are very, very excited. We are growing every day. So keep your eyes and ears open. We've also partnered with some local universities to bring on some interns. So occasionally we have interns working in our office, which is another way to actually offset the cost. So generally when you work with an intern, the cost is significantly lower, and they have the benefit of all of our training because we pour into them. And then they're also supervised by our clinical director and they get to get the feedback from all of our clinical staff as well. So that's another way to offset the cost as well. So if you want support for your mental health, there are resources and we are proud to be one of them. So if you have questions specifically, you can, who would I suggest for teenagers? This person right here, this person, Danielle is accepting teenagers right now. So I would encourage you to check her out. If you would like to schedule individually for yourself, your children, or something, for your own mental health, you can call our office directly. It is 317-471-8996. And I'll make sure that's posted somewhere around this video where you see it. So you can call our office directly. One of our administrators will give you a call back and help you get screened and scheduled. You can also send us an email to intake@thewell counseling group. Again, I'll make sure that is linked around this video somewhere. If you have specific questions about your insurance or the resources that you have, we will help you in any way that we can. We want to make mental health accessible to you, and we are proud to be a part of that process. So thank you for spending a little time with us. We got a lot accomplished in 30 minutes, so I'm very proud of us, actually. We got a lot done. So hopefully you've gotten some benefits out of this Wellness Wednesday with the Well. We will make sure that this is shared. Please, if you are watching this online, feel free to share it with somebody that you love to make sure they get some resources and some support as well. And we will be back next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about stress at work. Yeah. So if you have stress in your work life, if you struggle with a boss who's getting on your nerves, or how to navigate challenges, even maybe you're in between jobs, those kind of things that are related to your work life, please join us next week because we will be talking about that. You guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.